The problem is today, culture pushes us towards fame, celebrity, status, be a star, have lots of followers, have lots of views, get lots of likes. But the problem is, the world today confuses prominence with significance. And the world today defines the two as the same. That if someone is prominent, they must be significant because they're prominent. So the world pushes us not doing good, but looking good. Not being great, but just having people call you great. And the world today tells us that if you get enough people who tell you you're great, then you're great. If you get enough people who like you, then you must be something special. You get enough people who want to follow you and see the dumb things you post online, that you must be really something significant in this world. Well, here's the problem. How do you get to prominence? How do you get to famous? How do you get to celebrity? The only way to get there is only one way. Self-promotion. Self-serving, self-centered. That's the only way to be prominent, is to be completely self-serving. All about me. But as we know from the scriptures, as our Lord taught us, as I'm going to try to make the case today, that serving yourself will never make you great. Serving yourself will make you famous. Serving yourself will make you prominent. Serving yourself will make you have lots of followers and lots of likes and lots of whatever it is. But it will not make you great. Because greatness comes from serving others, not from serving myself. Greatness comes from serving others, not from serving myself. Every single person in this room, no matter how many people are following you online, no matter how many likes or how many friends or how many whatever it is that you got, no matter how many people even know your name, you can be great. But your greatness doesn't come from serving yourself. Your greatness comes from serving one another. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why volunteering is so important. Because it's a chance to step outside of myself and say, it's not about me. My whole life is about me, not at this. At one point, I have to say, I have to do something where I don't benefit, where I'm just serving and I'm volunteering and I'm giving myself for someone else's benefit other than my own. Now, this idea of self-serving is not a new thing. Okay, ever since man has been on this earth, man has tried to make his name great, has tried. Self-promotion has always been a thing. That's why you see people, okay, the rich people, the emperors and the rulers, build great statues to themselves so they can be great, because that's what they thought it was. If people knew who I was and never forgot me, then I'd be great. People try to acquire treasures, whatever it may be, in order to be great. And it's not even just non-spiritual people. Spiritual people like us in the church, this applies to us too. Because did you know there was a time where the disciples of our Lord Jesus Christ fell into this same trap of wanting to be great? We're going to look at a passage right now from Luke chapter 22. And I'm going to tell you off the bat, before we get into the text, I'm going to tell you off the bat, it is a remarkable passage. What we're going to read is so unbelievable. It's so unbelievable that it took place. That this is one of the reasons why when someone's like, how do you know that the Gospels are true? How do you know what they said is accurate? Passages like this prove it. Because if it wasn't true, no one in the right mind would put this in, because it makes them look very, very, very bad. We're going to see a passage from Luke chapter 22. Let's get a little context. If I say Luke 22, where is that in the life of Jesus? Beginning, middle, or end? Luke 22. Luke has how many chapters in it? 24. So this is Luke 22, so this is near the end. And I'll give you a spoiler alert. 24 is when Jesus rises from the dead. 23 is when Jesus dies. Okay? So 22 is right before Jesus dies. The very last days of Christ on this earth. By this point in time, the disciples had spent 3 years with Jesus. They knew what he liked and what he didn't like. They knew what made him happy and what made him not happy. They knew the things that he said were important, the things that he said were not that important. They knew him as well as you could know him. This is their last day with him before he dies. And on this last night, before Jesus is arrested, so this is the day before Good Friday, so Thursday before Good Friday, Jesus is talking weird talk, saying weird things. Like everything seems to be fine, but Jesus is like, the Son of Man's about to be betrayed. They're like, oh my goodness, what are you talking about, Jesus? And he's like, we're about to be scourged and spit upon and delivered. And they're like, Jesus, like, we're just having dinner. Like, what's going on? Like, what do you? They didn't get it. And he kept saying all these cryptic messages, but they knew something was going on, but they didn't get it. And their response to what Jesus says, Again, it's so unbelievable. Just so you believe me, because you're going to think I'm making this up. Because you're going to think to yourself, there's no way. Jesus on his last day, I'm going to die. I'm going to be killed. There's no way the disciples would say anything funny. I'm going to show you the context. We're going to go to Luke 22, and we're going to step back in the story of the 4 verses preceding the verse I want to show you. Okay, so just to get the context. Luke 22:19. This is the Last Supper, night before Jesus dies. He took bread, gave thanks and broke it, and gave it to them, saying, this is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Something very important is happening. Jesus is being serious. This is my body. Verse 20. Likewise, he also took the cup after supper, saying, this is the cup of my new covenant in my blood, which is shed for you. So again, serious. Something is going to happen. I give you my body. I give you my blood. Verse 21. But behold, the hand of my betrayer is with me on the table. And truly the Son of Man goes as it has been determined. But woe to that man by whom he is betrayed. And they're like, Jesus is raising the temperature in the room. Okay, give you my body, give you my blood, my betrayer, Son of Man about to be betrayed. Verse 23. And then they began to question among themselves which of them would do this thing. So again, this heightened state of like, betrayer, is it going to be him, is it going to be him, going to be him. Now the very next verse, not like the next day, not like after an intermission, not like after they had a commercial break. The very next verse, Jesus said, I'm going to die. Here's my body. Here's my blood. Betrayer, scourge. Verse 24. Now there's a dispute among them as to which of them would be considered the greatest. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, am I reading this right? Are you kidding me? This is insane. I'm standing up here. Let's say me. I'm Father Anthony. I'm up here. And I'm like, guys, I've been serving you in this church for 10 years. This is my last Sunday. I'm going down after this. I'm going to be betrayed. I'm going to die. This is my last one, my final words. And you're like, can I have your office when you're done? What are you going to do with your car? And Father Timothy comes to me and says, what size robe are you? Just curious. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, I'm saying this is my last day. Jesus just said, this is my body. This is my blood. Washed his feet. Like everything. And they're talking about who's going to be the greatest. You know, these days, like the GOAT. You ever heard the expression, the GOAT? Everything is like the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Who's the greatest of all time? And, you know, if you're YouTube or you're sport, I'm a sports guy. Who's the greatest basketball player of all time? And it's this guy, it's this guy. And who's the greatest football player? And who's the greatest whatever it is? Well, these guys are like, who's the greatest of us of all time? This is not the appropriate time for this discussion. This is not the appropriate time. Maybe after he goes, but this is not the appropriate time. And I'm just trying to picture myself. I'm thinking Peter's saying to himself, okay, guys, clearly I'm the greatest. Because I didn't see anyone else walk on water, like all of you walk and you go in the water. I walk on top of the water and I was dancing on top of the water. Anyone else dance on top of the water? And then John's like, look here, man. Enough with the water thing. We get it. You walked on water. You're the greatest. You walked on water. That was one time. But clearly Jesus loved me the best. Because if you read in the gospel, it says that the one who Jesus loved. And then James, who was John's brother, would say, hey, bro. He could say bro because it was his brother. Okay. Hey, bro, enough of the third person in the gospel thing. Like, we get it, okay? You think you're the Jesus' favorite. And then Bartholomew's like a peacemaker guy. And Bartholomew's like, okay, guys, I don't know if anyone, probably, is me. And they're all like, Bartholomew, pipe down. No one even knows who your name is. Like, people hear Bart, they didn't think of a Simpson before they think of a disciple. But there they are. The disciples, the leaders of the faith, give you my body, give you my blood, about to die. And they're like, I want to be number one. I want to be great. I want to be prominent. And Jesus goes on. He said to them, look, guys, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those who exercise authority over them are called benefactors. But not so among you. Not so among you. Not so among you. On the contrary, he who is greatest among you, let him be as the younger. He who governs as he who serves. For who is greater? He who sits at the table or he who serves? To which they're all thinking, no, it's the one who's sitting is the one who is the greater. And he says, no, it is not he who sits at the table. Yet I am among you as the one who serves. Not so among you. Not so among you. On the contrary, not so. That's how they look at greatness. I get it. That's what Jesus is saying. Is like, I get it. Out there, the greatness is the guy at the head of the table. But in here, in my kingdom, greatness is the one who's serving at the table. Out there, it's the one with the most likes. The one who says, look at me, look at me, look at me. But in here, there is greatness. You can be great, but it's not that way. It's the one who's serving others, not serving himself.